your socks! Hey!
The Lost Art with Andrew Cox podcast, now streaming on all major podcast platforms. A Till Valhalla Project ambassador. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast that's given a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we're having a My Veteran Story. But before we get in the episode, are you enjoying the podcast? Well, make sure you go to the website. That's thelostart.podbean.com. Go check it out. See what we got going on. There is a merchandise tab. You can click on that. You can go get you some cool gear. Help support us in getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Also, big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project and allowing me to be an ambassador for that amazing organization. They're out there doing some amazing things, and if you can help them out, please do so. Go visit their website. That's tillvalhallaproject.com.
Ton Tavern, birthplace of the Corps. We as Marines hold this history close to our hearts. Wouldn't it be spectacular if the establishment was born again? The Ton Legacy Foundation, a nonprofit 501c3, is taking the task and is looking to the Marines to once again save the day. Help the Lost Art podcast in raising funds to help get the Ton built once again only 100 yards from the original establishment in Philadelphia. We are looking for Marines to donate $25 representing the upcoming 250th birthday of the Corps. Spread the message and help establish the Ton, a place for Marine brethren to gather and remember our historic beginning. Go to the Lost Art GoFundMe page and donate today. The Ton Legacy Foundation, reestablishing our birthplace.
All right, with that, I got Jesse Gerhardt here. How you been doing?
I've been doing well, man. How about yourself?
Oh, dude, I can't complain at all. Just another day, another fine day here in retirement. I finally caught up to you for retirement, so we're good. You just mentioned 9 years you've been in retirement, pretty wild. So yeah. I'm excited to hear your story and all the stuff that you got. So it'll be a good time, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And let's do this.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's go all the way to the beginning for you. Where did you grow up, and then what drew you into military service?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. So I was born in Washington State, migrated east, lived in Illinois twice, lived in Florida twice, spent most of my childhood on the outskirts of Detroit, a little place called Pontiac. And then I graduated high school from North Carolina. So it's, a little bit of everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you got the whole country experience.
I did, even before joining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I joined November 26, 1996. That was my my delayed entry date. That's when I joined the pool lead program for the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
I've often wondered why I joined the Marine Corps, and it's kind of hard to really explain it, but I've had other recruiters contact me, but my best friend at the time, his name was Tahim Rodwell. He was a fabulous musician. We were both in the band there at Southern Wayne High School in Dudley, North Carolina. And, I thought I was a good musician. And keyword thought. Okay, I thought. All right. But you won't get into that in a little bit. But yeah, so I joined because it was for the first time in my life I actually felt wanted. I don't mean make it sound rough or bad, but when you boil it down to when you actually have someone that's pursuing you, actually wants to better you, and because I grew up in a horrible environment, I really did. It was bad, abusive all around. It was just a bad thing, and then when someone actually cared for me. Like my recruiter did. I had 3 recruiters. My original recruiter was Gunner Sergeant Sherry, and then the 2 people that took over after he left was he got promoted to Staff Sergeant Olson, and Staff Sergeant Sweeney. Those guys, they took in sincere care in my life, and really wanted to see me do better for myself. And that's why that's really what kept me in the delayed entry program, kept me going. Just you know how it is when I don't know, growing up when you see people have things that you don't have, and you know that there's a path to go get it, you want to go get it. You want to better yourself, and
Yeah.
that's really why I joined.
Nice. Okay.
You know,
Wow. And then
yeah.
so it was delayed entry program in 96. When did you actually go to boot camp?
Yeah. So I had a projected boot camp date of September, I think September 19th or something like that. But
Hmm.
because they needed someone to go early, and I had just broke up with my fiance, I was all about getting out of there.
Hmm.
I went to boot camp June 23rd, stepped on the yellow footprints June 24th. Funny story about that. Yeah, so I'll tell you, that's okay. So, you know how some people like me, I took a van down from Raleigh, North Carolina, and had six other people in the van, and we're driving down on the Paris Island. My recruiter did give me some warning, but not enough warning to really think into my skull. And you know me, I'm a hard headed kid anyway. But we're in the we are in this minivan, dude, and we arrive, and it was during day, and I don't know what I was thinking, but the drill instructor came up to the door, and I quickly locked the minivan door. And he's yanking, doing his thing. We're going like this, and the bus driver or the van driver's like, "Open the door." I'm like, "No." She distracted me enough to unlock it, and then I'm like, "Nope." I locked it again, and then, needless to say, when he finally got that door out, it wasn't my feet print. My feet hitting the yellow footprints is the first thing. It
Yeah.
was my upper body for me being yanked out at 119 pounds. Just so yeah, I started off boot camp rough. Okay, they already knew me.
You started off not even day one. You're still in the in the car.
Yeah, I'm still in the car, not wanting to get out of this thing. And you know, oh my gosh, I still remember their faces. They're like, open the door. I'm like, no, I know where this is going to go, and I'm not ready for this. And I don't think anyone else was ready, to be honest. You know how boot camp is.
Oh
They could
yeah.
tell you. Yeah, I mean, you've seen it. I'm pretty sure you've actually got to come out and do some family nights as a drill instructor. So
Oh yeah.
you know, but I didn't. Okay, that's I was probably the first man in flight off the bus in Paris Island. So it was,
That's a
yeah,
good one.
Air Jesse. That's I just got to work on my
Yeah.
landing. That's really what it was.
Nice, nice. Well, you started out a little on the rough side at boot camp. How did the rest of boot camp end up for you?
Oh boy, man. So there's a part in someone's life, especially a young man, where they have to make a decision where they can accept the unknown and continue to go on, or try to hold back to what they had before they joined. And for
Hmm.
a little while, I was scared. Again, 119 pounds, 17 years old in boot camp, probably the
Hmm.
first time I really been away from my family. So I had that first cycle was rough for me. It really was. That first couple weeks, terribly rough on me. Um,
Yeah.
but once you accept your reality, and that's what I had
Hmm.
to do, because there was no going back for me. If I went back home, I would probably be strung out on drugs, still living
Mm.
in the same trailer. So I had to
Yeah.
make that big boy decision at 17, and suck it up for a little while. And I mean,
Hmm.
that's what I did. We did have some climatic some just bad things in boot camp that happened to us. I don't know if we need to get into that here. I don't know if we can.
Hey,
But
we can get into whatever you want to get into. It's totally up to you.
okay, cool. So there's this guide for 1074, a kid named Recruit Jenkins. He had a full ride scholarship at the University of Kentucky to play football for them. He was on one of those
Mm.
92-day reservist programs, and they made him a guide. And during right before the rifle range, I think it was before the rifle range or during the rifle range, when we had I don't know, I think we had some kind of engineer meet or something like that, where we're doing some kind of a competition. Well, they decided to put him up against me, and me, I'm small. He's not so small. Man, this guy ran me over, and I'm okay to say it. He was a big boy, but
Yeah.
the sad thing about that was, they put too much pressure on him, saying that when we got to the rifle range, that he wasn't going. If he didn't qualify them, he's going to be, pushed back, recycled 2 weeks, and that really
Mm,
got to his head. And they always tell you, the drill instructors always tell you. I'm sure you've told people, don't add your line
mm,
up on, don't add your score up on the fire line.
yeah.
Well, we were on the 500-yard line, and he added his score up, and he realized he wasn't going to qualify, so he ran up, like three recruits next to me, grabbed his fellow recruit, put the rifle on burst, and blew his head off. Um,
No kidding.
yeah,
Wow.
it was bad. We had that happen. We had some dude take their bootlaces off over a medical and decide to hang himself. So yeah, we had a rough go around at boot camp,
Yeah.
but luckily everything. Well, I won't say everything turned out well because the man died, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we were able to turn it around as the recruits, and really had that come to Jesus moment where even if we didn't make it, it still wasn't worth our life. And
Right.
luckily, from that point on, we didn't have to drop anyone from our platoon. I don't think anyone else got dropped either. I'm not 100% sure, but boot camp was definitely fun. You know how it goes whenever you have the guide. I was a squad leader for like about 30 minutes in the middle of a hump. That's it. Because I decided that I was going to get tough with one of my drill instructors, and it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
There's this saying: you're either going to get strong or you're going to get smart. And I was still under the process of I need to get strong, and through that, through that, through that strength and endurance course, I ended up getting smarter and realized I should probably keep my mouth shut against this person right here. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my
Wow.
career. I did have a problem with my tact. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah. 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 No,
But
you didn't have a problem, man. No, it's all good.
oh,
Um,
I
You know, I didn't know that about boot camp, man. That's
yeah.
having he was the guide for your platoon, right?
Oh, not mine, not mine. I was
Oh, it was
1073. He
another
was,
another
yeah,
platoon. Okay, got it.
yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's
And
insane.
yeah, and you're now, being 17. That's some of the things you're seeing. You're like, oh my God, what did I really get
Oh
myself
yeah.
involved in? But then later on in life, you kind of realize that each person's different. They can handle a certain
Mhm.
amount of stress, and you might be able to handle more. They can't, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, very true.
unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, he made that decision, which wasn't. Um, it is what it is. It wasn't great,
Hmm.
and I hope his family's still doing well. But
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So, and now you didn't get dropped back or anything like that. You went straight through and graduated on time and everything.
Yep, I went straight through, got a little
Yeah.
stronger because my mouth, and yeah, so it was pretty good. I went in 119, came out 140. I lost my eights, but
Wow.
yeah, I lost my abs because again, rough childhood. I didn't have a lot of food to eat growing up.
Yeah.
There's many times I had to pick food out of a trash can, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like I told you, man, rough childhood. I told myself
Hmm.
I would never go back and get that way in my life, and I will be damned if I do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Good on you, man. So okay, you finished boot camp, go off to MCT. I'm assuming you got some time off in between there, though. Did you take 10 days boot leave?
I did. I took some boot leave there. They have this program as a recruiter. If you come home and you recruit one or two people on boot leave, they'll get meritorious and promoted.
Hmm.
Um, Unfortunately for me, I had other things on my brain, like seeing people, because
Yeah.
so I didn't do anything productive on recruiter's assistance. Which, looking
Oh,
at my
wow.
career, I probably should have, considering where I ended up being at. But yeah, I didn't do anything. I mean, I went to the school, had fun. It was recruiter assistance was fun. MCT, that was a blast. But at that time we were doing 17 days, 14 days of that was in the field. So
Hmm.
we had a decent time. My mouth did get me in trouble, and I think it almost got everyone else in trouble too. We had, yeah, again, thank Jesse. But we had just got back from the field from or something. And I really wanted to call my girlfriend because, again, 17, young, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is what it is. That's my tying to being back home. That's the only thing I really have that's tying me back there. So I went up to one of the instructors and was like, hey, seeing that nobody else has enough balls to ask you, can we use the phone? 10 minutes later, we had our packs back on. We're going back out in the field.
Oh my God.
I felt so bad, man. Like, you, Gerhardt, you just up. Everyone get outside. Get all your gear. We're going back out. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So,
Oh man.
yeah, it was, yeah, lots of times of me learning, looking back, learning that I should have just kept my mouth shut, but I didn't. And I'd love to say
You
I'm
know,
stronger for
somebody, somebody has to ask the question or somebody has to say something, So
it.
you just took the bullet for everybody else. That's all.
I took the 50 cal round. That's what it was. It wasn't a bullet. It was a straight one of those slap T titanium rounds that we used to carry.
Yeah, yeah. Holy cow. All right, so you have a good time at MCT,
Yep.
and then it's off to now you went to the School of Music, is that right?
So no, I did not. What ended up
Okay.
happening? I was supposed to be when I signed up. I ended up asking because Stassard Olson, he was a air logistics embark specialist.
Okay.
I don't remember what the MOS code was for that, but I wanted to do it too. I wanted to jump out of the
Mhm.
planes, pack parachutes, and see them to the ground. That was cool. So I got that MOS field. I got the MOS field.
Mhm.
However, because they wanted me to leave earlier, and because I didn't want to be around, I went earlier, which set me in as open contract.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, they told me they's like we can't put you in the infantry and we can't put you as a cook, but we can put you as open contract and they can get you anything except for those two fields. I'm like, okay, cool. So when that last couple days at MCT, we're trying to figure out where we're going, what our jobs are going to be for those who are in open contract. Came back to me. I ended up becoming a heavy equipment operator, and my job
Mm.
school, yeah, my job school is over in Fort Leonard, otherwise
Hmm.
known as Fort Lost in the Woods.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. That was a fun time. I think I got there in like November, no, October. I ended up getting promoted to PFC E2 in December 1st. Went on 20
Okay.
days of Christmas leave, and coming back on January 4th, I lost my rank.
Oh.
Now, Jesse, how did we get here? Yes, let me explain that story. So my first in JP, and I say first because I've had multiple. Um, you can't do that now. You could back in the or late '90s, but my I was on leave, went home, and I'm seeing my girlfriend, and at that time she was my fiance, and she was getting ready to leave Christmas Eve to head out to Tennessee for some missions retreat, something like that.
Okay.
And I was heading back to my job school. I'm sorry, she was leaving the 30th. I was leaving the 31st, right? And I was heading back. Um, she was supposed to be back January 3rd, and I had to report in by January 3rd. So she decided to go ahead and use the line that you cannot argue with when breaking up with someone. She said, I feel like God's calling me to break up with you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like how do you argue with that? Well, my
Yeah.
God tells me we're supposed to be married. That's not how that
Yeah.
works. So, I took it like a champ for about 30 minutes until I got home, and then I started breaking down crying because it was like,
Yeah.
again, being 17, I just turned 18 at the time. And you think you're madly in love with someone, but you realize you're only in love with them because that's something that's familiar to you, and it's
Hmm.
being at home. So, man, I got back. I tried so much stuff to get. Yeah, okay, I'll just lay it out there. Um, I called my aunt and I was like, "Hey, Carolyn," because she lived in Branson, Missouri, which is I think 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours south of where I was at in Fort Leonard.
Hmm.
I was like, "Hey, can I come down and stay with you guys for a little bit?" She's like, "Yeah, but why?" I was like, "Well, because I'm going to go UA." and
Oh,
yeah, I don't want to be in the Marine Corps anymore. And if I get caught, then I will go ahead and become a missionary in the brig. And this is the thought process I had as a
yeah,
young kid. When you're homesick, so you're going to try any excuse in your mind to come up with a what you think is a viable option, which isn't.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
so she's like, yeah, sure, come on down. So I went out and bought my bus ticket. I packed up all my 7 bags. I apparently had a lot of stuff being in the MOS school, but I packed up all my bags. And a couple hours before I'm supposed to go down there, I decide that this is embarrassing. Okay, there's this girl that I did not like, this female Marine I did not like. And I don't even know why I didn't like her, but I decided that I was going to don't judge me, okay? I was in my train of thought. I was going to defecate in this bag and tie it to her door.
Oh
So
God.
I decided to do it, man. I got this shit in the bag in my bathroom, waiting to go. This is the last thing I'm gonna do. But the problem is my aunt called. And so I answered the payphone and she's like, you can't come up here. I don't want Marines coming over here with Uzis shooting up my house. I'm like, what are you talking about? What am I supposed to do? I already got all 7 of my bags packed. She's like, hang on. So my dumbass is hanging on the phone. She calls the chaplain. The chaplain calls the duty. And then before I get off the phone, my aunt gets back on the phone. She's like, hey, don't worry. Someone's coming to talk to you. I'm like, oh, there it
Oh
is.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time I hang the phone up, get back to my room, I'm just thinking, I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. And then the staff duty comes to the door, opens the door. He's like, Gerhardt, get your shit and let's go. And we all just started laughing because I still had that bag of shit in the bathroom. And
Oh,
so yeah, I was not, again, young, wasn't very mature, but so I spent the night at the duty hut. The next day, first sergeant, one of the first sergeants came. No, my staff instructor came in. He decided to take me out to the job site or the training site where it's at, and this kind of aggravated me looking back. But I thought it was the greatest thing in the world at that time. But the staff
hmm.
sergeant looked like Elmer Fudd. I won't drop his name. I still remember his name very very vividly. But he's like, hey, look, I'm going to go in there and say that you're here, but if you want, just drop your gear off in my van, and I'll pick you up on the road and bring you down to the bus stop. I'm like, cool. So I dropped my stuff off in the van. I started walking. He picked me up, dropped me off at the bus stop, which was, hey, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah.
It goes against so many things, though, looking back now. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that guy is so stupid. But they had this one dude named Jeremy Oxenford. I won't forget him. He was a layover at the school, so they ended up making him a guide because he injured his arm doing something. I don't know if it was
Hmm.
in boot camp or in training. I don't remember, but he went to my room and they told him, "Hey, you need to apprehend Gerhardt when he comes back." Um, he's looking at my roommates. I had some big burly roommates, like just like
Yeah.
yo, and they're like, "Oh my God, I gotta stop this guy. There's no way possible I can stop him." So I didn't go back to the room. I just went over to the first sergeant at the company office and decided to go ahead and tell him what's going on. As I'm trying to communicate what my issues were, I had a master sergeant just start getting just yelling at me. And I finally snapped. I was like, shut up, Master Sergeant. I have a 3-year-old brother at home that doesn't cry as much as you can, or as much as you do. Shut your face before I shut it for you. Um,
God.
yeah. And then the first sergeant comes in and he's lighting me up. I'm like, first sergeant, you know what? Fuck off. That's what I said. Just fuck off. And
Whoa.
so I had to go report to the major, and I forgot that when you reported in or when you dismiss, you have to take a step back and then good afternoon,
Yeah.
then about face. I kept on just doing the about face, and I was getting mad, like get back, get back. I'm like, fuck it, I fucking hate you all. And that's when that's when the MP started getting involved. I was like, hey, Master Sergeant,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Master Sergeant, you open up when the MPs get here, you open up that door and the cop car door, I'll run and jump feet first. What do you say? He's like, Mr. Gerhardt, I advise you to stop talking. I'm like, you shut up. So my ass gets hauled off to the Fort Leonard Wood brig. I think it was the brig. I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a brig. And I'm waiting. I'm sitting in the receiving area, I guess you want to call it. And this
Yeah.
dude from the Army, Sergeant First Class, comes up, and I see his name's Gerhardt. I'm like, wait a damn minute. I was like, are we related? He's like, I don't know, but you're going to jail. That's all I care about. I'm like, oh my God. So,
Oh my
um,
God.
you've probably never received office hours, which is a good thing for you in your illustrious career. But me, I have to really experience everything in life. So, uh, during my office hours, right before my office hours, I requested to speak to the major, the first sergeant, the master sergeant, and I sincerely apologized. I was like, hey guys,
Mhm.
I was like, gentlemen, this is what's going on. I had my heart broke and all this other stuff. I do sincerely apologize. This is not how I truly am. I'm sorry. Then I had to go see the colonel, or I think it was Lieutenant Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel Johnson, I think it was. But when I reported in, he started reading me all my rights and stuff, and then he said, "Since you had the intestinal fortitude to apologize beforehand, I'm not going to give you the max fine, which was
Yeah.
supposed to be $900 fine, reduced to PFC, and 45. I'm sorry, reduction in rank from PFC to private, and then
Hmm.
45 days duty, extra duty, 45 days restriction."
Yeah.
They suspended all of that except for $250 fine and 15, and I still lost my rank. But they held
Yeah.
that over me for the next 4 months.
Hmm.
So, which was good because that was in the beginning of January. I graduated MOS school from Fort Leonard Wood in the end of January. Went out the first Combat Engineer Battalion there in Camp Pendleton.
Hmm.
Um, and then about 2 weeks later, that Jeremy Oxford joined me. So you talking about a little bit awkward, a little bit weird, kind of like a family
Yeah.
reunion. What's up, buddy? But it was cool. Um, so when I first get out there, I get my what's called ACE, Armored Combat Earth Mover. It looks like a tank, but it has a bulldozer blade on it and a
Mm.
scraper inside. It's
Yeah.
it's what we use for breaching minefields and whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, so they sent me out to the field from March until May, over doing what we call CAX. I think it's CAX 5 and 6. So
Yeah.
for some reason, they decided to put a private in charge of the field op, which I still didn't understand. But I had three lance corporals that reported under me while out there. I'm like, this is stupid, but cool, we'll do it. Then I got yeah, right, right. Then I got a phone call, or I called back to my mom, and I was talking to her, and then she was diagnosed with hepatitis C. So
Okay.
I was just um, accepting the fact that I'm a grown man now. I'm on my own, and I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about anything. But now I have to go home and take care of my mom. So
Hmm.
after I got out of the field, First Sergeant Bellows, which is a recon first sergeant, cool man. He's also the one that played in Heartbreak Ridge. He's the Hispanic staff sergeant that formed the platoon for PT. I don't know if you've ever
Are
seen
you
him.
serious?
Yeah, yeah. First
No
Sergeant
kidding.
Alex Bell.
Wow.
Yep, yeah. Small world, but um, so yeah. After that, they sent me on emergency leave and went back to Lejeune. They told me all you got to do is go down to the INI station Lejeune, tell them you need to start your INI transfer. Well, I did that. It was wrong. I needed to do all my paperwork beforehand before going over there.
Mm.
So they let me go on recruiter's assistance. They really tried to take care of me. I was just an asshole. I didn't do much on recruiter assistance. I did a lot. Well, I did a lot, but I also started. I found another girlfriend, and I'm like, hey, this is
Yeah.
cool. Needless to say, I didn't do any of the paperwork I needed to get done to do my transfer. My mom was fine. I had to go back. I took a bus drive back, which is the longest bus drive of my life, 2 days, 16 hours and 45 minutes. Not that I remember that, but I've done it four
Ah.
times. Oh, you meet some weird people on buses, dude. That's
Yeah.
another,
Yeah. Yeah.
we didn't got enough time, but, So I get back on a Saturday. I'm sorry, on a Sunday, and I just threw everything I had in my wall locker because it was late, and I was going to do my laundry and press out my uniforms during the week. However, Lieutenant Colonel Lottie, who would love to call us his little tigers, would have a formation every Monday so we can do morning colors. And I had kind of forgot this little tidbit, but he would also tell one company, like Charlie Company, go get in your alphas, and then support company, go open your wall lockers for a wall locker inspection.
Mm.
I was not ready. I just decided that fuck it, I'm gone. And I went. I left. I went and told the chaplain, like, hey, chaplain, I'm taking off. Appreciate everything you did. He's like, but. I'm like, nope, nope, don't care. I'm leaving.
Oh man.
So have you've been up to San Mateo, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That big ass hill in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I took my trumpet up there because I still had a passion for music. I just sucked at it
Mm-hmm.
apparently. I went up the top of that hill, played. Then I decided instead of taking the bus to the bus stop, I just decided to walk, which is another 3 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, because I was scared of getting caught, I just decided to go through the potato patch and all. And I got poison ivy.
Oh.
So, yep, back on that damn bus for another 2 hour or 2 days, 16 hours and 45 minutes, just scratching and going home. Um, I called my mom. She was pretty mad at me, but she still came and got me. At that time, one of my friends, her dad, because I live near Goldsboro, North Carolina, which is right
Mm-hmm.
next to where Seymour, oh my gosh, Seymour Air Force Base, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
we was
Yeah.
at. Her dad worked on that base. He was an E9 in the Air Force. She knew I was home. Couple days had gone by. I decided to go ahead and call the first sergeant on the duty phone and tell him, hey, if you can come pick me up, I'll come back. We didn't make it that far, though. The police, the MPs, I don't know if they're called the special, I don't know, shore patrol, whatever you want to call them, the
Yeah.
MPs from the Air Force, they decided to come to my trailer. And all I had on was a cut off green skivvy shirt. And I was
Yeah.
rocking some black jean shorts. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
No, I'm so sorry. I didn't even have a shirt on. I had to go across the street to my mom's trailer because I was staying with my stepdad to go get a shirt. And I was like, hey, can I go in there and get it? They're like, no. First off, let me back up. When they came up to the trailer, uh, there was a cute MP at the front door. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Hey, how can I help you? She's like, don't bother running. We got you surrounded. I'm like, oh. And so they drugged my ass across the street to go get. I asked him, I was like, hey, can I go inside and get a shirt? She's like, nope, your mom's going to throw it out. And my mom threw out the green cutoff skivvy shirt. So
Yeah. Yeah.
here I am in handcuffs, in a green cutoff skivvy shirt and some black shorts, and I'm being hauled off to the Air Force jail. Which is kind of cool because once they confirmed who I was, I went from being in a cell where my toilet touched the bed to after they found out that I was who I was, they gave me this big room. I had a little library in there. I had HBO. I had bunk beds. There was no one else in there. I'm like, why would I want to leave? I'm perfectly fine in this nice thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if you ever eaten at Air Force Chow Hall, but you
Oh
don't
yeah.
take care of your traits. You just
Mm-hmm.
boggling, man. 18-year-old kid programmed to take care of his trait, dump in the trash can. Now I'm
Yeah.
standing here looking at him like, I don't know what to do. I just told him, I was like, I don't know what to do. You want me to leave it here? But I know someone's going to come scream at me. So I don't know what to do. But needless to say, they held me there for 3 days until the chasers from DC came down. They came down. And at that point, my poison oak or poison sumac, whatever it was in full blown, just going to
Yeah.
town. And they gave me, so I'm sitting in the back of this car, just scratching to death. And one of the corporals is like, hey, stop fucking moving. I'm like, dude, I got poison ivy. I will scratch all over this car and bleed all over your seat. I don't care. So here I am, still in that green cutoff skinny shirt in the airport
Yeah.
with my hands like up underneath here, walking so nobody sees the handcuffs. I'm like, this is so embarrassing. So they transport me there. I get to go back to first CEB, see Major Angus, who real good man. I really I can't speak more highly of this guy, but um, I had to go report into him in handcuffs in a cut off skivvy shirt, and that
Oh wow.
dude, that was so hard for me. That was so hard for me. I'm like, this is bad. This was really bad. But yeah, so I got NJP'd again, and the way the Marine Corps loves to work is they don't like to NJP you Monday through Thursday. They like to NJP you on Friday. So
Yeah.
you think you're getting away with it, man. I'm like, all right, cool. It's Thursday. Tomorrow I'm going to go on Oceanside. I am going to go buy that CD that I'm looking for. Hell no, you're not.
Yeah.
1600. You got to go see the company commander. I'm like, oh man. So that one was, I mean, they were in the process. They told me that they're going to send me to CCU to go break rocks
Mm,
and do all that stuff. But
yeah.
during that process, in what was that? I got NJP July of '98. So yeah, but 5 months after my 4 month.
Yeah.
Remember, I was telling you that they suspended it for 4 months. Well, my fifth
That's
month,
right. Yeah.
I got hit. Yeah, good times. At least I can do math. I can math a little bit. But um, said, hey, we're going to send you to CCU and you're going to go break rocks. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm mentally preparing for this. But then they came back a week later and said that all CCUs in the Marine Corps have been disbanded.
Mm,
So I'm like, all right, cool. They're like, we're going to go see you. We're going to go send you to see the psychologist, the wizard, as they called it.
yeah.
So I'm talking, and prior to that, my unit was trying to figure out what's going on with me, and I was having a lot of knee pain. I was having a lot of knee pain. I needed surgery on my right knee again. So I snapped at my lieutenant, Lieutenant Robinson. He's a great guy. I still communicate with him. No, every 5 6 years like that. But I told him, I was like, sir, I want to line you guys up from lieutenant on down to private and break your knees with this baseball bat. That's probably something you shouldn't say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Again, I learned. So I went and seen the wizard, as they said, and I was telling him about some of the things I was having issues with, and he flat out just told me, he's like, "Hey, you ain't got to fake it. I'll discharge you." I'm like, "Wow, I'm not faking it, but I don't want a Section 8 discharge of my thing either." So um, it was just weird. Like I was waiting for him to kick me out. And as I was doing my final physical, walking across the parade deck, I promise you, I heard this audible voice from God saying, "Hey, don't do this. I got plans for you. Just don't do this."
Yeah.
And at that point in my life, I wanted to have a close relationship with God because a lot of people, they say either you become a gym rat, an alcoholic, or a
Hmm.
Bible thumper. And I was definitely going towards the Bible thumper part. And so I decided to listen, and then within the next couple of weeks, I ended up meeting I started dating my ex-wife. She's my ex-wife
Hmm.
now, but started dating her. Things were going really well. I made it from private to corporal in 2 years faster than anyone else in the shop had.
Wow.
Um, and then, yeah, it was, if I would just be calm and listen, I think that's what it was. And I did. I listened.
Hmm.
So yeah, which brings me up to my next enlistment. I was like, I really badly wanted to be a musician because that was what my passion was.
Yeah.
During when we had the MTA come out to high school to actually audition me, I remember him. His name was Ron Hackler. You remember Hackler, right? Master
Oh, I
Hackler.
know
Yeah,
Hackler. Yeah.
yeah. Good guy. Very blunt. He,
He's still down at Paris Island area. He works as a civilian on base. And his
you know
wife
what?
came on the podcast and was on here doing fireside chats
No,
several times. So yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
know him pretty well.
man, they're great people. I like them. I like them a lot. But I'll tell you why that ties in a minute. But in the middle of my audition, he's like, "Do you even play trumpet?" I'm like, "Oh my god, how are you going to hit me with? Do I even play trumpet?" Mind you, I really didn't know how to read music until my senior year. I did everything by ear,
Hmm.
which might pose a little problem. So fast forward, 3.5 years when it's time for me to re-enlist. I wanted to become a musician, so I went down the
Mm-hmm.
First Marine Division band. I started taking lessons and started doing everything I needed to do. That's where I met Hugh Wirtz,
Mm-hmm.
and Teresa Browndorf and all sorts of stuff. Teresa
Yeah.
had my hopes really high. She's like, "Go show him what he's going to be doing." I'm like, "All right, I'm in, freaking in." Um, then I had audition for Staff Sergeant Brown, not Forrest Brown, the other Brown. Uh, I played,
Okay.
I played three notes for this guy, and you said no. I lost hope. I got so
Yeah.
butthurt. I re-enlisted. I'm like, you know what? I want out of the division. I'm going to the Air Wings. So I went to MWSS 273 in Buford. Bro, I was there maybe 3 hours before I realized that the Air Wing was not for me. It was just not for me. I was doing everything in my
Wow.
possible power not to lose my rank again. Yeah, when they say swing with the wing, they really mean swing. It was
Yeah.
just it was one of those things where you just like, good God, how does anything ever get accomplished? And
Mm-hmm.
so after Corporal's course, or in the middle of Corporal's course, I decided I was talking to another guy who wanted to be a musician. We went over and talked to Paris Island. We went and talked to Gunny Whitaker. I don't know if you remember
Mm-hmm.
Gunny Whitaker. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they set me up with an audition date. They set me up. The other guy just didn't want to do it. And in my audition, I found back then it was on the 4.0 scale. I know they do
Mm-hmm.
something different now, but um, he told me, he's like, "Hey man, you need a 2.7 to be or 2.5 to be trainable. No, 2.3 to be trainable, 2.7 to get out of the school of music. But you need a 2.85 because you're promotable sergeant."
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
I did my on the job training. I had to extend it by a month just because I had to get the higher score to play for sergeant.
Yeah.
Dan Ireland, one of my good friends, he
Oh
spent
yeah.
countless hours with me, and I'm so thankful for him for that. I just talked to him recently. He's a great guy. But yeah, those guys they helped me. They prepared me. And as soon as I was able to do my lateral move and became a 55-41, I
Mm-hmm.
requested to go back to Pendleton. I just
Okay.
couldn't. I couldn't do the lax environment. I couldn't. I was structured for the division. I realized that I was structured for the division. So I do that. I do my lap move. I'm pretty sure. I know I was Bob Zabo's first successful lap mover, and
Mm.
he asked me, he's like, "Why do you want to go back to Pendleton?" And at that time, I just had a baby, and my wife
Mm-hmm.
was. My wife at the time was pregnant again with her second one, and all of her family
Yeah.
was out in California. So I explained to him. He's like, "That makes sense." But so I leave, check into Pendleton June 1st, right around that time. That's when I met
What
the
what year was that?
2002.
Okay.
2002. Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, 2002. And because that's when, yeah, shortly after that, we started gearing up. We started doing the machine gunners course, the
Mm-hmm.
combat aidsman course, which is, I still don't like needles, but that's a different story. Oh man, but yeah, then we deployed. It was one
Mm-hmm.
of those things. I remember. Do you remember Gerke?
Yeah.
Jeff
Yeah. Yeah.
Gerke? Do you remember when were you there for the invasion, or did you come in
No,
'03?
I came in right when you guys got back. I think y'all were still on leave, and that's when I showed up.
So June of '03, right around
Mm-hmm.
there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to say it was Gerke. When he checked in, we didn't even give him an instrument. We just sent him to the armory to go get his stuff.
Oh
Because
wow.
he was supposed to go the very next with us the very next day or something like that.
Holy
I don't
cow.
know if he ended up coming with us. Yeah, it was. Hey, we're going. But yeah, we did those two deployments to Iraq. Had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you miss it by chance?
Say it again.
Do you miss being in Iraq?
Uh, there are things that I miss. I won't say I miss everything, but there are
Oh,
aspects of it that
certainly.
I miss. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss it. I don't miss. Yeah, same. There's certain
Mm-hmm.
things I enjoyed and certain things I didn't. But Yeah, we
Yeah.
had those. Yep. So we had those two deployments. And then I was trying. So yeah, '04 comes up. I wanted to go back to Iraq with Chief Warrant Officer Stone, but
Hmm.
Headquarters Marine Corps wouldn't let me. They said nope, we have too many people dodging, going to Iraq, so you can go anywhere else you want. And that's why I was like, just send me to ULC. So I went to the unit leader course
Yeah.
at the School of Music. So well, I didn't have any problems there. It was all right. And then after that, I went over to Okinawa. Um, yeah, I went to Okinawa, and then after Okinawa, I requested to go to on recruiting duty.
Hmm.
Funny thing about that was I was contemplating and trying to lat move out of there, out of the band field.
Hmm.
There's just some issues I didn't like the way certain things were going. I mean,
Hmm.
you know how the band field was back then. I didn't like a
Yeah.
couple, so don't need to beat it up. I'm sure it's a lot better now. Um, but headquarters Marine Corps came back and said, no, you're not going to go back and be as a heavy equipment operator. No, you're not going to go lat move into the infantry. No, you are stuck there. So I'm like, all
Hmm.
right, great. So I requested to go to recruiting duty
And
at the
what
same.
rank were you at that point?
I got
You're a
selected
sergeant
for
or a
no.
staff sergeant?
I left Pendleton selected for staff sergeant. So
Okay.
'05 I got selected. I got promoted August 1st of '06 while I was at the
Okay.
was I at the School of Music or did I already graduate? I don't remember. I don't remember.
Hmm. Okay.
No, yeah, that's right. I got promoted at the School of Music, and then I went to Okinawa in December. So,
Got it. Okay.
yeah, and but yeah, we had at the same time I had orders to go back or go to recruiting school. The drum major was trying to get to Afghanistan and do an individual augment and
Yeah.
help out,
Hmm.
but he couldn't go. And I said, I will take your spot. I will go in a heartbeat. Um, but then, good old Forrest Brown. There's not many people that I'd like Violet to. I'm just gonna shut up. But he wouldn't let me do the IA to Afghanistan. He's like, nope, you're going to recruiting school. So did recruiting duty while on. Now I'm going to talk about that man. We're going to go back from it. So
Yep.
he got into that unit about 5 months, 6 months after I did something like that,
Hmm.
and I had to go on emergency leave because my mother-in-law had passed away. So,
Hmm.
and the stipulation for that, because my son or my wife at the time was, we were supposed to, she died December 6th. He was supposed to be born on Christmas or January 1st. It kept on
Hmm.
floating. We had to get a doctor's note saying that we can fly there, but we cannot fly back until the baby's born. So I'm like,
Right.
okay. So after that's done, um, we end up I end up coming back from California early because we just couldn't. We had to wait for all the documentation to get overseas to get his passport and everything.
Yeah.
So while I'm back there, I was also working with a Christian artist named Rebecca St. James to try to get
Mm.
her to come to the island to perform for us. And I was, talking to the band officer, Chief Officer Brown, about some of the things that I've been working on while I was on leave. And this man just lost his mind. He just starts yelling at me and starts screaming at me, um, and provoking me to the point where I engaged back. But it got to the point after that meeting, I wasn't allowed in his office without a chaperone. I'm a
Oh,
staff
wow.
sergeant. I can't go into your office without having a chaperone. Cool. So that went on for about 6 months. I ended up becoming the assistant drum major, which turned into being the full time drum major. Uh,
Hmm.
Debbie Hamner and I had no, I'm sorry. I had a parade to go do in Naha, and while myself and another person was out doing our site recon, we started to come back, and as we're going over this bridge, walking back, we see the Marines picking up cars and moving them. I'm like, and I go straight to the interpreter. I'm like, what are you doing, Mr. Shiki? He's like, well, I asked them to move the cars because I was tired of waiting on them. I'm like, you can't, we just can't do that. The image of, 4 Marines picking up a small car and moving it in Naha,
Yeah.
Japan is not good. So parade went, we had a good time. Everything was fine. I go back on Sunday to do my after action report and to talk to the band officer because I know he's going to be there. And prior to that, Debbie Hamner is just getting her ass handed to her for something. I don't even know what it was. It was probably nothing related. I don't know. I don't know what it was. She was a fantastic conductor. I don't know what the problem was, but I know I wasn't going to stand for it. So I decided to go in there and talk to the band officer, try to deflect his anger off of her, and so he can concentrate on some of the things I was telling him. And I was telling him, I was like, hey, sir, the parade went fine. We did have one issue. Mr. Shiki had asked the Marines to pick up a couple cars, and move them while I wasn't there. And he just lost his mind. He was like, what the? I'm so sick and tired of sending out incompetent leaders. And I was like, incompetent? Action reflects leadership. So if you're calling me incompetent, look in the fucking mirror. And I was like, I am going to walk away. I'm going to shut this door and walk away because I don't need to engage in this right now. And he's like, you leave that room, you're fired. And I just lost my shit. I slammed this door like 4 times, like, man, what? Fire me, fucking fire me. So while we are arguing, Debbie is going around and kicking all the Marines out of the building because we had a couple in there.
Yeah.
They like to come in there for individual practice, whatever. But she is kicking all these people out of the building, and I got fired from the drum major, which was funny because it was my last day as the acting drum major. Miranda came back the very next day on Monday, but the next day they're holding formation, and I just didn't go. I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. There's no point. I know he's going to talk about me. And he was talking about me. And then Vic's like, hey, man, I understand your position, but you might just want to go apologize to the band officer. I'm like, fine. I went back and talked to him. I was like, hey, sir, about this weekend. He's like, don't worry about it, Staff Sergeant. It's okay. I forgive you. You can have your job back. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy was bipolar, just straight up bipolar. But, we can go on for days about him alone. I don't want to take up any more of my time. I don't want to even speak about the man's name because we put more energy than I need into his life. So I hope him all the well, and I hope we'll just leave him alone. Sorry about that.
It's all good, man.
It's like it just happened yesterday, even though it happened 15 years ago. It's like, yep.
Yeah.
I'm still fired about this, dude. So yeah, I went on recruiting duty because I requested to go on recruiting duty. I was allowed to request the area that I wanted to go to. My wife at the time had family over in Oklahoma, so I requested to go to a little one-man station in McAllister called PCS McAllister, which McAllister belonged to Fort Smith, which that's where I seen you at.
Yeah.
And then Fort Smith also had Little Rock, not Little Rock. What is that? What is that place called? It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. It'll hit me tomorrow when I wake up. But we all belong to ours, Oklahoma City. Everything was going well on recruiting duty. The recruiter before me ended up getting relieved, so I had to go and clean up a lot of his trash. But first 6 months I was rolling. I was writing 3s, 4s a month. I was rolling. I was doing things that a lot of people haven't done in years. Like that was a dried up place. I ended up having, I think, 32 high schools and 4 community colleges, and I think that was it. But it was a wide area. Like I had everything from eastern Oklahoma all the way over to Holdenville, which from Kyoto Kyoto Holdenville is about a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
So My dumb ass decided to put in two kids from Kyoto, and then one of my priority schools was Holdenville. I put in another kid from Holdenville. Well, Saturday comes up and none of them have a car, so I have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to Holdenville to pick up this person, to drive 3 hours to
Oh,
Kyoto to
wow.
go pick up these two. Yeah, so it was just rough, but so yeah, recruiting dude was fun. It was going well until it wasn't. We had noticed that my son was starting to have a little bit of the delay in some of the
Hmm.
reactions he was having. Um, in a matter of a 1 week span, he went from running around slapping me to not being able to get off the couch and holding his head like this
Yeah.
because he couldn't see straight. Um, it,
Wow.
it took us. I mean, we went to multiple hospitals before Tulsa finally told us. And I almost choked the shit out of the doctor when he told me. But he's like, he has brain cancer. He has what's called diffuse and stringent pontine glioma, which is um, it's a tumor that starts in the pons part of the brainstem and just wraps around the brainstem. And eventually you forget, or you'll be paralyzed either on the left or right side of your body. You'll lose function of it, and essentially you
Hmm.
just forget to know how to breathe. So
Oh,
you just
wow.
die. And still to this day, there's no cure for it.
Hmm.
When we got to St. Jude, they said it's a 95% mortality rate, and the 5% that don't die will misdiagnose. So
Wow.
you talk about like losing hope quick. And yeah, my recruiting command was awesome. They let me go for those what was it, 2.5 months over in basically the summer of 2010, so I could be
Hmm.
in Memphis with him at St. Jude Hospital. Um, and then I finally I had enough. Um, I felt guilty because I was just being paid to go to the hospital. And I asked them, like, hey,
Yeah.
can you guys relieve me and send me back to the fleet? Maybe I can go over to Quantico and go through Bethesda or something like that. And the sergeant major's like, absolutely, we will. We'll do whatever we can. 2 days
Hmm.
come back later. 2 days later, he comes back. We had the eighth district because that's Oklahoma was under the eighth district at that time.
Hmm.
We had their CO, Sergeant Major, I want to say Bell, who knew me from Pendleton when I was on all those meritorious boards and whatnot. Um,
Hmm.
but they had come back with a better deal. They said, "Hey, we're if you want, we can make you the MEPS liaison in MEPS Memphis, and essentially all you got to do is show up for work and leave." Because at that time, MEPS Memphis was only a 5 minute drive from St. Jude,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, I was like, "Absolutely, let's do it." So I transferred under MEPS Memphis. I was under RS Nashville, and they they didn't tell me just how bad the MEPS was. It was
Hmm.
deemed mission uncapable. So, um,
Wow.
yeah, when you go down to boot camp, those kids that pop up during the moment of truth, those are called post disclosures, PEDs.
Hmm.
If you have any type of administrative errors in your the paperwork, those are administrative discrepancies. And
Right.
there's a couple other things too that happen, but um, because I didn't want to face my reality. I'd already gone from giving up hope. I think I told you this a little while ago, but one day in the middle of summer before we moved there, my son got transferred to the second floor of St. Jude. If your son,
Hmm.
if anyone goes to the second floor in St. Jude, it's not good. It really
Hmm.
isn't good. They're expecting something bad to happen. My son
Right.
was admitted to the second floor, and my other kids were still back in Oklahoma with someone watching our kids. And I didn't want to face. I didn't want to face them because you realize as a parent or just as a Marine, you're supposed to have the answers. You're supposed to be able to fix it. It's the same
Right.
way
Yeah.
as being a parent. You're supposed to be able to fix it. And I couldn't fix this. There's
Hmm.
nothing that I could do to fix this. It just got to the point where I was done. I was done. I didn't want to be looked at like I was a failure because I viewed it like I failed my kids. I know I
Yeah.
did. There's nothing I could do about it. Looking back, there's
Hmm.
nothing, absolutely nothing. But I still viewed it as a failure. And
Yeah.
I, I decided I'd rather die than be labeled as a failure. And so I was sitting on the bench down there in front of or right there at St. Jude, and I was thinking about how I'm going to do this, and I just came up with I have rope in my trunk. I can go find some bricks. I'm just going to launch myself off the Mississippi Bridge and just be done.
Yeah. Wow.
Dude, as I was getting up to leave to go do all this stuff, one of my former Marines from my section, a kid named Aaron Wagner, you may know Wagner.
I know
I don't know.
Wagner. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good kid, good, great man. He called me and he's like, "Hey, buddy, God told me to call you." And I'm like, I bet he did. I bet he did. I didn't tell him or anyone about that for 3 to 4 years because
No
it's
kidding. Wow.
yeah, because that again, you're a maiden failure. If you can't fix something, you just I give up. I don't want to
Hmm.
live anymore. That to me is you know the biggest form of failing in life for me. And again, I think differently than everyone else. So if someone, I'm not going to look at anyone differently if that's what they want to do. That's their business. I really hope they
Hmm.
wouldn't. Um, but I mean, you and I both know if someone wants to kill themselves, they're going to
Hmm.
tell you everything that you need to hear to think that you're not going to, and then they're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
It's
just
very true.
happens. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but when someone's crossed that line in their mind, there's not much you can do to bring them back.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I told Wagner about 5 years ago about that conversation,
Hmm.
and I thanked him and Priscilla both. I thanked them so much. Yeah, some real good friends. That's the real good thing about the Marine Corps is once you make those lifelong friends, they interject themselves in your life sometimes when you least expect it. And
Yeah.
I'm thoughtful. I'm very thankful for it. But anyway, so yeah, I end up doing a MEPS liaison thing for a little while. I got really good at it. I got really good at reading people. It got to the point where I realized I was interrogating people.
Hmm.
And I was very successful. In my 2 years there, I only had one post enlistment disclosure over 2 years and two administrative discrepancies. I was ranked
Wow.
number two in the nation. Yeah, it was pretty good, pretty thorough. Because of that, they wanted me to help with MEPS Nashville and MEPS Knoxville, help them out, and basically be the voice for those MEPS, so which was fine.
Hmm.
Um, During that time, though, too, once my son, I needed to get my children, my other three children, well, my other two children, my other one, well, he's my oldest son now, but he was only two, so there's not much we can
Yeah.
do to keep him occupied. But we got into acting. We had the Donna Groff agency down in Memphis that signed us, and we were
Hmm.
doing some stuff with us. And what they do, um, they send us all what was it, models, actors, and talents for Christ, I think it was called, AMTC.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they sent us all down to the sister hotel of the Grand Ole Opry down in Orlando to audition in front of hundreds of these talent scouts, 20th Century
Oh
Fox,
yeah.
Cartoon Networks. It was great. I had a blast. During that time, though, right before that, I was working with um, headquarters Marine Corps, tried to get me to either go to Lejeune. I went and visit Lejeune. I went down there and stayed with Vic for a day.
Hmm.
My goal was to go down there and make sure that somebody actually retired and couldn't do any more damage because he already caused the death of two people.
Hmm.
Sorry. But Boatwright was actually down there and had him on
Yeah.
lockdown. So I'm like, there's no need for me to go over here. Um, I called up to Contreras and asked him, I was like, hey, man, I don't want to go to Lejeune. Can you send me to, um, oh God, what's that place called? Cherry Point. He's
Mm.
like,
Yeah.
I could, or I could send you back to Okinawa. We haven't had a staff and CO since you left out there. I'm like, yep, that works too. Send me back there.
Wow.
So yeah, so I ended up going back to Japan, but I didn't know that my daughters and I were going to be picked up by two. We had three talent scouts trying to pick us up for acting in the States, And I had to call each one of them and tell them, like, hey, listen, we'll be back in 2 to 3 years. I can't do anything now. They're like, fine, call us back. And when we get back, I called them like, who is this? I'm like, okay, Clint, doesn't matter. I guess it didn't work, but
Yeah.
great experience. But yeah, so we leave, we go back out to Japan. Within the first week, they ended up sending me out to Guadalcanal, which was fun. Never been there.
Very
They
cool.
they like beech nut. I don't know if you know what that is. I didn't know what it was until I got out there, but it's like chewing tobacco. You just see a
Yeah.
whole bunch of red spots all over the ground, like someone's just bleeding all over the place. It's nasty. Oh, and they tell you don't drink the water. I'm like, I'm sorry, but okay. But yeah, there's some cool stories about that, but a couple, one of those people are still on active duty and may or may not be at Bannos right now, so I'll leave those alone to protect the continuity of his integrity. Not his integrity, but it is his, it is what it is. We'll leave it alone. But so we did that, came back. Then we were gearing up to go down to Tarawa. I was going to take a 17-man band down to Tarawa. But in the process of getting ready for that, I started having some medical issues where we'd be in the middle of a conversation and I'd either black out, pass out, or I'd fall on the ground, or I'd forget what we're talking about.
Wow.
So yeah, it was really bad. It was really bad. It was about a year and a half after my son passed away. So I don't
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if it was stress caused by that, but I went to medical and they're like, hey, we think you're on the developmental stages of multiple sclerosis. I'm like, that's
Oh,
great.
dang.
Fucking great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they told me I had to get yearly MRIs of my neck, brain, and my spine. At that time, Chief Warrant Officer Stone came out there and replaced Giove. And it's documented. We don't get along. We just don't get along. Yeah, I would love to get along with him, but I can't. It's
Yeah.
me. It's not him. It's me. That's fine. I'll be the man. It's me. When I found out he was coming out there, I decided that I would go. I'd like to go back on recruiting duty and retire out there. So, I got my orders. Ended up going back out to recruiting duty, and then I missed my first yearly scans. We were doing pretty well there at Huntsville. I had come back from my yearly scans, and then about 45 minutes after I had my scan, the Army doctor called me, and it's like, "Hey, do you know what happened to your scan?" I was like, "Is it multiple sclerosis?" She's like, "Oh, thank God, you know." I'm like, "Well, I do now.
Oh
Do
my
now.
God.
Thank you. That's a career ender. You can't do anything."
Yeah.
So they ended up sending me to one neurologist for my brain, and then another neurologist for the rest of my body, and things just kept on getting worse and worse. And then another year goes by, and I go for another checkup, and the doctor just flat told me, she's like, "Hey, if you don't retire early, I'm going to medically retire you next year." And that's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, so 18 years, 1 month, and 29 days is my limitation in the Marine Corps. But
Yeah.
looking back, if there was someone that could have shared with me how that whole military medical process works, I could have saved some more time. But I was thinking that if I was medically retired, that I wouldn't get my military retirement. I would just get
Right.
my medical retirement. So I guess you can say I went out like I wanted to, or on my own terms, but
Yeah.
not like I wanted to go out that way. So, but
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that in itself
Holy
is
cow.
essentially my career. It's an up and down roller coaster ride with a lot of
Yeah.
mouthing off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then so since you once you retired, like where did you end up going? And what all happened? What all
Yeah,
has
sure.
happened since?
It's been a rough road, man. So I actually had to do an IG complaint to get my retirement ceremony. They were going to let me talk to the Marines. What was that? July or August, something like that, of 2015, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but then the Chattanooga shooter happened at that reserve station, that Navy reserve station there,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
I don't remember if someone, I don't remember if two Marine or two Navy guys died. I'm not too sure, but that got canceled.
yeah.
Um, and then they just weren't going to give me my retirement ceremony, so I had to do an IG complaint.
No
Which,
kidding. Wow.
dude, the turnaround on that is bad. It I ended up getting a retirement ceremony because I guess I had to work through the sergeant major down at Paris Island, 6th Marine Corps District Sergeant Major, and he himself said, "Hey,
Hmm.
you can't. You got to be nice. You got to be nice." I'm like, "Yes, Sergeant Major, I will be nice." um, but my retirement ceremony happened. What was it? I think November 20th or something like that. Uh,
Hmm.
I had already been working as a technical recruiter there at Huntsville, Alabama, and I had to go to my retirement ceremony. But I also accepted a position back in Michigan with ITT Tech as a senior missions representative. Um, but seeing that I had already retired and I hadn't had my ceremony, I had time to think about how I was going to um, give my retirement speech. So
Yeah.
my I don't care if you listen, whatever. My commanding officer was Major Kate Wagner. And what do you see in the Porter Johns over there? Wagner loves what? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
So I, in wisdom, decided to go ahead and put an acronym as Kate loves roosters. And I did it. I was like, recruiting can be summarized as a couple things. Use this acronym. Kate loves roosters. Knowledge always takes effort. All right. Knowledge will always take effort. Um, Leverage your opportunity. They vary at every school. And then what did I say about the rooster part? Rely. I don't know, but it was I this guy came up to me and he's like, you know what? I was kind of pissed at you for that retirement. So I want to hear some bits of wisdom. But then I realized just what the fuck you said. And I'm like, yeah, there you go, buddy. Wagner loves cock. He just walked off. But yeah, I had
Oh
fun.
man, that's
But
funny.
yeah, but since then, I've unfortunately I've had some ups and downs in the civilian world. The ITT Tech was probably the biggest scam known to man. They were
Mm,
teaching. First of all, back in 2015, you had to pay $90,000 for a 4-year scholarship for the academics that were taught to you is already outdated. So these guys would graduate from ITT as a graphic designer or whatever it is, and then they'd go to
yeah,
the job and then have to get retrained on everything again because everything's changed. I
right.
During that time though, I was also taking other interviews because I knew I had to get out of there. I took an interview with Bank of America. They were doing a
Hmm.
leadership development program for essentially for recruiters for the military.
Oh
They
wow.
flew 32 of us down to Charlotte. We got to go to their big corporate building down there, and then they were going to take the top 16. Well, I was number 14. And then if I would have got the position, I would have either an operations manager or a market sales manager, one of those
Okay.
two. Which the operation manager runs the operation side, and they have like a whole market of banks. So like my
Hmm.
OM was in charge of I think 14 banks. My position would have been doing the same thing. The market sales manager, they were in charge of the actual bankers, the people making the credit card applications, the bankers, the
Right.
relationship bankers. So it was kind of split down the evening. But they decided to change the requirements from 16 down to 12. And seeing that I was one of the top alternatives, they said, hey, we don't want to lose you. We want you to become a financial center manager for Bank of America. And seeing that you already interviewed with your manager, we're going to offer you the position down in Ann Arbor. I'm like, okay, cool. So I
Wow.
did that.
Okay.
I did that for almost 2 years until I ran essentially 10 different banks, Bank of America, and sucked in the back. This happened to their employees that other managers were just scared to do.
Hmm.
So my last bank was it basically in the ghetto, and I was asking my manager, I was like, "Hey, I'm getting tired of moving and changing banks. Excuse me, every 4 to 5 months, and I have my own branch." He's like, "Yeah, you had this branch." Um, and then Bank of America went through a bad withdrawal. They had over 300 banks or 300 branches
Hmm.
in Michigan, and they reduced that to about 10. And seeing that I was one of the
10?
first ones or last ones, 110, yeah. So they
Oh, okay.
lost like 200 banks. They just closed them up. Like you can drive around here and just see Bank of America branches still. My building, I stopped working there in 2018, and it's still there. It's not, it hasn't been changed yet. Um, but yeah,
Wow.
so since I was the last one hired, was the first one go. Yeah, they had no spots. So that was the first time I didn't have a job in over 20 years, and I took my sweet ass time. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take a month off, not do shit. About a week and a half into that, I got bored. Okay, and at that time, my wife was a recruiter for a staffing agency, and the company she was staffing solely for needed some drivers. So I ended up being a driver for about a month, getting paid crap. Didn't care because I didn't need the job. I was just bored. But at that time, Amazon had a longer process for hiring people. It took about 3 to 4
Hmm.
months. So I had applied. I still needed a job because here I am in July. I don't have a job yet. So I ended up becoming the Veterans Career Advisor for the state of Michigan. It sounds,
Wow.
yeah, it sounds like a cool title. $17
Yeah.
an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah, and my job was to go find veterans that have some kind of disability or some barrier that's preventing them from gaining employment or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
You know how, I won't say, yeah, I'll say it. You know how prideful vets are. They don't want
Oh,
help.
yeah. Hmm.
So, yeah, they won't. I did not, I did not like that job because I was begging vets to let me help them. And once
Hmm.
they got in the system, I was able to help them. It was good, but still, you have to go find them and convince them that you have their intentions in mind, their needs,
Hmm.
and that was difficult. And luckily for me, Amazon got back and said, "Hey, we want to bring you in for an interview. Here's your four choices to choose from. You can go to Hebron, Kentucky, Indianapolis, Indiana, Kenosha, Wisconsin, or Shakopee, or however you say Shakopee, Minnesota." I was like, "Well, I
Okay.
haven't been to Wisconsin. Send me to Wisconsin."
Hmm.
So I go out there, interview for the job. I ended up getting the job. And this is where I had to make my decision. Because my kids, we had just moved up to Clarkston in 2016.
Hmm.
Um, that was the first time, or I guess you could say that was the longest time they spent in any area was 2.5 years because we were always moving.
Yeah.
Wanted them to stay in high school, so I decided to take the job out in Kenosha and leave my family here. Uh, During
Hmm.
that time, well, I'd probably say about the last 10 years of probably before that, ever since my son passed away, my
Hmm.
wife and I had been having a lot of issues. And
Yeah.
December came, and I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go file for divorce. And I filed for divorce. Came back here in January, filed for divorce, went back out there to do my job. Ended up meeting my wife that I'm with now. She came in for overtime one day. I was her manager at Amazon. Um,
Hmm.
I, I I like to talk to people, so I went up and talked to her. She's on my floor. She's doing. I'm charged her essentially. I asked her, I was like, "Hey, how long does it take you to get to work?" Because I'm kind of new to the area, trying looking for looking looking to see what was the shortest distance. And she's like, "Well, it takes me about 7 minutes." I'm like, "There's no damn way. It takes me 7 minutes. Where do you live?" And come to find out, we lived in the same damn apartment. I lived at 102, and she lived over at 201 in the same building. But again, there's a common thing I need you to understand. My mouth will get me in trouble. Okay, it does. It
Yeah.
does. I've been working on it for 45 years. I'm only 45. I got another 10 years before I can master it. But by then I'll be too old to give a fuck. So I asked her because I had this roommate, not roommate, but the people right above me. They stomped so hard on the floor, and I
Yeah.
swear I felt like we were on like the bathroom break time together. Because as soon as I start walking to the bathroom, you hear doop, 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 doop. And I would love to tell you that you couldn't hear what they were doing in the bathroom, but you could hear it. You could hear the splash. You could hear the touchdown. It was nasty. So I turned around in my disbelief that she lived so close, and I asked her, I was like, "Are you that fat fucking rhino that keeps on stomping on my fucking roof?" She's like, "Oh my God, no, I lived across the hall." I was like, "Good, keep it that way." I just left. Uh, but later on, she asked me, she had, I guess, dropped one of her necklaces down the drain in her bathroom and asked me if I could come get it. I was like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
So she has two bathrooms in her apartment. I did not realize, because I'm not a plumber at all, that both the
Yeah.
sinks are connected. So if you take off the yeah, I should know this. I
The
work
you.
for a
Yeah.
plumbing company. Yeah, you take that off. I took it off, got the necklace out, and it stunk because I don't think anyone's ever cleaned their pipes. So I go into the other bathroom and I'm cleaning it out. And then she comes in, she's like, "Hey, I think you're flooding my bathroom." I'm like, "Oh
Oh
shit,
no.
dude!" Like that much of water on the ground. I'm like, "Oh my
Oh,
God." So I just started throwing towels. I'm like, "I'll see you later. Goodbye." And the rest is history with her and I. But after that, I needed to come back and finalize my divorce and start trying to get custody of my kids. So I applied to come back to Michigan through Amazon. I got told, "Hey, you're going to come in here, but we need you to fix the building." I'm like, "Okay, I understand." Um, so came back, finalized my divorce, brought my girlfriend with me at the time. We ended up getting married later on in October.
hmm
Um, and then, yeah, we could talk about that later. But yeah, so um, with 3.5 to 4 years I was with Amazon, I went to 17 different buildings. Opened
Wow.
up, yeah, I opened up a fulfillment center down in Toledo. I opened up a delivery station up in Wixom, Michigan. Um, I left Amazon after working in Whole Foods. I got hired on to work in Whole. Have you ever done click list through Kroger, where you
No,
like
huh?
you order your groceries online, they bring it to your car? That
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's
Okay.
what.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the small sliver that I was in charge of at Whole Foods for Amazon.
hmm
So I did that. I had two stores when I first started off. I realized halfway through my time there that they weren't replacing any of the other managers that were leaving or the operation manager. They were just piling more and more on people. So
Yeah.
uh, towards the end, I was running four stores in Michigan. Well, two stores full time in Michigan, overseeing two others when the other guy was here. But I had productivity essentially for the entire East Coast down to Florida, and then I guess you could say Midwest, from Michigan all the way down to Tennessee. I had to,
Holy
uh,
cow.
yeah, like you're talking about hundreds of stores looking at their productivity, coaching them, talk to them. Um, I myself had 267 employees that fell underneath me for those two stores that I ran. But on top of that, there was close to 1,000 employees with all the other stores. And
Wow.
yeah, so I decided to see what other options were out there for me. And this automotive company I applied to called what were they called? Android. Android Industries. So there's two companies, Android Industry and Avance. Their husband owns Android, wife owns Avance. They're really big. They're assemblers, value-added assemblers for like GM, Ford, Stellantis, whatever.
Right.
So they won the contract to assemble GM's new electric vehicle. So
Oh, wow.
we were working on the Hummer, assembling it, doing all this launch building stuff for that. It was a launch building, so I had 9 commodities that I was in charge of the operation manager. They said I was going to be the operation manager. I was end up being a team member, a production manager, and operation manager in three hats. Um, and they were looking for someone to blame, and I knew that I was going to be the fall guy. So I decided to
Yeah.
go back to Amazon, and I went back to
hmm
Amazon. I had two 45-minute interviews with a 15-minute interview break in between for Amazon. In the middle of
hmm
that 15-minute break, I got a call from my boss saying, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and let you go. We appreciate your service." I'm like, "Hey, that's cool. Thank you." Because I was getting ready to leave next week anyway, so that's fine. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, man, there's no job security out there. Um,
Holy cow.
Yep, I went back to Amazon. I fixed their building. They didn't deliver on what they promised and told me they were going to deliver, so I left. I ended up going to Ford as a contract hire. I was there for 3 months before that contract was dissolved due to budget cuts. Um, and then I went to another company. I'll leave that out. I won't tell you what it was, but I was a logistic manager for that company. And my first day there, I had to fire two people because two of them were fighting. The next week, I came back after going on the road with them. It was a night shift job. I don't do well on night shift because my PTSD.
Yeah.
I just, after we got blown up in the barracks or when they hit the barracks during the
Mm-hmm.
day, I've never been able to sleep during the day. So I just don't sleep.
Yeah.
Um, I was coming back from a run with one of the drivers so I could see what they're doing, and another damn fight broke out. I'm trying to break it up, and then I decided to choke out someone. Um, I did, and he dropped. When he woke up, which was not that long afterwards, he wasn't even mad at me. He understood. He's like, dude, I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. You saved my job. You probably saved my ass because I was going to get it beat. I'm like, I know I did. That's okay. Didn't think anything about it. The very next day, I get a call as soon as I walk into my office. Hey, you've been suspended. And then I got
Oh
fired.
man.
Yep.
No
Yep.
kidding.
Yep. So after that, I ended up working for a company called KGP Co. They are the number one um, wireless company in the United States for erecting
Mm.
towers and tearing them down.
Oh wow.
They're pretty good, and they merged with was it Cersei over in Europe. And you may not know this, but when the mergers happen, whoever has the majority of share will generally get rid of the other people and bring their own people in.
Right. Yeah.
So the line of business that we're in over here, we're deconstructing sorry, Sprint's cell phone towers and erecting T-Mobile stuff because T-Mobile bought out Sprint.
Right.
They didn't plan accordingly. They didn't branch out and start working with Verizon or AT&T. They just solely stuck with Sprint and T-Mobile. I got that job in March. By May, I've already survived 5 reductions in forces. So I knew my time was coming, but
Yeah.
it's rough. So like from 2022 to now, I have like 6 jobs, and that's not good when you're looking at it. When a recruiter looks at it like you just job hot. No, I know I
Yeah.
don't. I I was let go December 29th, and they closed down that place shortly after that.
Hmm.
And that's when I got hired on here, and where I'm at now. I'm with a company called Thornton and Grooms. We're a heating, HVAC, and electrical company, and
Mm.
I'm the warehouse manager for that now, and it's
Nice.
not bad. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's that's 9 years and about 30
Holy cow.
seconds. Yeah,
That's wild, dude.
not
It's a
wrong.
wild ride.
You're not wrong, buddy. It's they don't tell you this stuff. I think tap and taps need to be readjusted.
Yeah. Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah, for sure. So, before we wrap it up, is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with? Any words of wisdom or just anything that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I guess one thing I'd like to tell someone is don't get to my age or your age and wonder what if. What if I would have just done this? Stop wondering and just go do it. Unless it's murder, don't do murder. That's bad. But if if you have something that you want to do and you really want to do it, but you're scared to do it, suck it up and do it. Who cares?
Yeah.
If you fail, you fail. Now you know. But if you
Hmm.
didn't, now you never know. You'll have to sit back and wonder what if. So don't wonder what if. Just do it as long as it's legal.
Yeah. 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 It's a good
Yeah,
point. Good
yeah.
disclaimer there. Yeah, it was
Uh,
nice.
the other thing I want to say is I appreciate your website. I was looking over that today, yesterday, and I see all the resources that you put on there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
Those aren't even I didn't come up with those. That's just what I've gotten from people and I just take it and I try to plug stuff on there and, hopefully it helps people and,
yeah,
it's what it's there for. So,
absolutely. Well, go for it. There's people out there that are searching, they're hurting, and they're not willing
hmm
to admit it. They'll just, they closet shop. So you
yeah.
can use your website to closet shop some resources for you. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's real good. It's real good. I do appreciate everything you've done, man, and I like what you got going on. I wish you all the luck with it. And if you ever need
Thanks, man.
a short, bald guy to come help you out, let me know. I can kick
Yeah,
ankles. I can bite kneecaps. I'm from Detroit, so we
nice.
do that.
Y- Yeah, it's all good. Well, hopefully, sometime in the near future, I'll get a sponsor and I can get a team and all that type of stuff. We'll see where it goes from here. But right now, it's just me just doing what I'm doing right now. So it's all good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Get
yeah. What I was going to say is, and I'm sorry, I lost my headphone. They already went dead. But look at Visa and Synchrony. Sorry, they do a program for the vets when they come out. It's a shameless plug for them. That's okay. They bring them out. They have them They have them look at some jobs in
mhm.
their company. They have them do it for a couple of weeks to see which one they like, and then they start the mentor process, which I don't
Nice.
exactly know how they do it. I already have a plan for my company if we get large enough to do it, but um, if you know, you might be able to do that. Sit down and communicate to them. Tell them how, you don't have to worry about not being there 15 minutes prior. It's okay. It's not the end
Yeah.
of the world if you're 2 minutes late. It's stuff like that that us vets don't understand, and we stress about it.
Yeah.
We can
Hmm.
get shot at all day, not really give two shits. But if we're late for work, oh my God, life's over.
Oh yeah.
Life is over. So,
Yeah. It's a true
yeah, man.
statement. Uh,
Yeah. Well, I
Very cool.
appreciate you having me on, man. I really do. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on and sharing a story. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't even know about. So it's good to hear the stories from everybody. So I appreciate you, man. Thanks for what you've done and what you're still doing. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, you keep up the good work, man. Appreciate you.
All right, good, good. Hey, don't go anywhere. But to
Yep.
all the listeners out there, if you're struggling, you need help, anything like that, don't forget the VA does have some great resources. You can always dial 988, press option 1. You can text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on the chat icon. But remember, one veteran life loss is one too many. I care about you. I know Jesse cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, reach out to the buddies you served with and ask them how they're doing. And if they need that helping hand, please go ahead and give it to them. All right. One more time. Thanks, Jesse. I appreciate it. To all the listeners, stay motivated. Change your socks.